Solatube International is committed to designing effective daylighting systems that minimize the dynamics associated with daylighting, including shifting light patterns, seasonal intensity changes, and constant changes in solar position. But the challenge doesn't end there. Applying the Solatube products to a building should be easy and predictable. So Solatube International has developed simple tools that do just that. These tools include easy estimating guidelines, lighting design data files, and drawings and specifications. Let's start with two easy estimating tools, the Solatube Lumen Displacement Method and the Simple Spacing Criteria. Using these basic back-of-the-envelope approaches, a designer can very quickly establish an initial estimate of the quantity of Solatube daylighting systems necessary to meet the lighting requirements of a space or building. With the lumen displacement method, the lumen output of electrical lighting equipment is calculated for a space and then equated to the average lumen output of Solatube daylighting systems. Let's say we have a room that is 8 meters by 8 meters. In this room, we calculate that 9 3-lamp T8 troffers each produce a maintained output of 4,700 lumens for a total of 42,300 lumens. Next, choose a unit size of the Solatube daylight system and refer to the Solatube lumen output tables to determine the average lumen output for this sized unit. For our example, a 21-inch Solatube daylighting system would be appropriate for this room type. Using the tables for, let's say, Denver, Colorado, we see that the average lumen output for 2,400 hours of daylight a year would be 11,589 lumens. Therefore, we would need about 4 21-inch Solatube daylighting systems to equal the light output of the electric lighting system. The simple spacing criteria functions as a general guide to provide acceptable uniformity in horizontal task illumination and to estimate the number of Solatube daylighting systems required for most facility types. It determines a recommended spacing between each Solatube daylighting system based on the mounting height of the diffuser above the surface to be illuminated, typically a desktop or a floor. First, determine the mounting height. For example, let's assume we're illuminating an office desktop at a height of about 0.8 meters. The diffusers will be mounted on a ceiling at 2.8 meters. Therefore, the mounting height is 2 meters. Spacing between each daylighting system should be between 1 and 1.5 times the mounting height. In our example, spacing would be about 2.5 meters on center. For spacing from walls, use half that distance. In our example, the daylighting system should be placed about 1.25 meters from walls. This assures that walls are properly illuminated and the room appears well lit. In our previous example, with this pattern, we would estimate that the room would require approximately 7 Solatube daylighting systems. With these easy estimating tools, the number of Solatube daylighting systems are calculated using both the lumen displacement method and the spacing criteria methods. The actual design is then based upon the higher number of units from both calculations. Remember, this approach is intended to serve as a general guideline. In sunny markets, or in a room with other sources of daylight, spacing uniformity requirements calculated through the spacing criteria may result in higher daytime light levels than are produced with the electric lighting system. In markets with lower daylight availability, or those with frequent cloud cover, the lumen output factor may cause spacing to decrease in order to provide sufficient daytime light. Similar criteria also applies to rooms with high ceilings, such as warehouses. For example, let's look at a warehouse with 10-meter ceilings. Here, we are attempting to light the floor, so the mounting height is 10 meters. Spacing criteria should be 80 to 100% of the mounting height for this type of facility. Therefore, each daylighting system should be spaced about 8 to 10 meters on center. This will produce less light than our office example, but typically less light is required in a warehouse. If more light is required for activities such as assembly, spacing should be reduced. If less light is required, spacing can be increased. When detailed lighting calculations are required, Solatube has created IES photometric files and lumen output tables that can be used as input data for many common lighting design software programs, such as Lumen Micro, Lumen Designer, and AGI. The IES photometric files provide the pattern of light emissions for a Solatube daylighting system, while the lumen output tables provide projected light output intensity based on the available climatic daylight in geographic areas throughout the world. After a design using Solatube daylighting systems is complete, providing the documentation for construction is easy. Visit the Solatube website for CAD details, specifications that can be customized with options, and cut sheets to help develop an accurate fixture schedule to ensure the correct configurations are bid and installed. You'll even find interesting facts and figures to help promote the benefits of natural light, as well as case studies that showcase just a sampling of the thousands of Solatube installations around the world.